Hey, are you a Drawfee fan? Aren't you sick of them because they never kill Nathan for real for real?
Yeah!
They're too nice!
Kill him!
Was the Chunin exam in Naruto your entire personality for a couple years? Did you read Record of Ragnarok and thought to yourself, yo, this shit crazy, Maya, you crazy? Well, good news, because I decided that Drawfee needs a tournament arc! My name is Jacob, and I want to play a game! I've been also a Drawfee fan, and I checked since 2016, and they genuinely shaped me both as an artist and as a person. I'm severely Drawfee pilled, but with all the pills on the market nowadays, hey, I think we're fine, chat. I think we're fine. I present these before thee as my qualifications to see who among Drawfee shall win the prix, and burst in glee.
I want to pit these kids against one another, am I clear? I am going to create an environment that is so toxic.
So the way I want to do this is actually quite simple. One of the biggest treats we get as Drawfee fans are the occasional speed draws, which portray the full process from scratch of creating a piece with all the time and resources in the world. Or, you know, the last 2 hours before deadline, which is very relatable. These videos present the same challenge and the same theme for the crew, and thus can be used as a basis on which we judge and rank and decide who emerges victorious. I want to go episode by episode and decide which one of the challengers impressed the Emperor the most that week. The winning artist gets a point, and we move to the next episode. Pretty simple. Can you tell I made this up just to have an excuse to revisit old episodes I've seen multiple times anyway? Yeah? Well, good.
Play games with us! Bring out the slide!
The Speeddraw series started 6 years ago as a Newsday episode. We have to thank our brave King Jacob for pitching a lot of new things over the years as part of Newsday, Speeddraws included. It's almost as if he's not afraid to take the leap of faith and step into the unknown sometimes. Crazy. Artists draw link in different genres is the title and the theme for this one, and I love how earnest it is. Like today it would totally be something like artists draw Ganondorf progressively sluttier and sluttier, which is like totally random and not something that I would like to see at all. The series has come a long way is what I'm trying to say, and it's lovely to revisit its beginnings. Starting off with Nathan, who goes for the genre of Star Wars, more specifically the animated Clone Wars directed by Genndy Tartakovsky.
Gandhi?
And he absolutely smashes it. Nathan, we will come to learn, is brilliant at adapting various styles and tones, and when he commits, oh boy, he just does it. I never use reference in my own drawings because I can hardly replicate something I myself drew 5 minutes ago, like while looking at it, so I really respect Nathan's ability to analyze and take the right bits and pieces from the style and apply it to his own works. We get a nice little advice here, a little tip to paint the entire canvas a neutral color just like this, which then helps you put some contrast on the paper and potentially helps you with color picking for the piece. I remember watching this episode for the first time and being like, whoa, I really need to try that. And then I never did, not once. But, you know, that's the beautiful thing about advice, I think. You can ignore it. I learned so much by watching these artists draw and talk about drawing over the last 10 years, but not every advice from anybody will work for you. And I think that's kind of beautiful. I especially love the glow on the sword. Stands out so well without like feeling out of place. I struggle with that a lot. My art is very shapy and sharp, so adding glow or, you know, any kind of an airbrush effect is always challenging for me. It has to be the right amount so that it blends in with the sharp lines. And this style is also very sharp and shapy, so I think Nathan did such a great job with like including the glow and making it feel just right. Nathan absolutely nailed this. I love the dynamic pose, the execution of the style, and the perfect final touches to complement the simplicity of the style. There's a new twink in town, Obi-Wan. Right. I never watched Star Wars. Is that what it's about? In Jacob's own words, he simply wanted to draw a hot boy. Unfortunately for him, he's drawing a twink. Hot where? Maybe if you leave them out on the sun for too long. Even worse, the genre he chose is a millennial. I should probably put a disclaimer here that Jacob's art has always been the most influential for me specifically. Currently, it's definitely the style closest to how I draw, and I just learned so much from this man and absolutely adore his shit. That's right, he's my bias. I made this fanart of York in 2021, this fanart of his Fakemon from one of the Gardic Phone streams in 2022, and this is me wearing a Jacob Horse shirt on the opening night of my very first art exhibition in 2024. My freaking legal name is Jacob. This, however, is a fair competition between equally matched opponents, and as the judge, jury, and the executioner, I'm sure it will be fine and there will be no bias at all. Hehe. I'll try to roast him more, okay, to balance it out. Anyway, back to the office. We witnessed the very first Jacob ink in action. This is one of the best parts of pretty much every speeddraw episode. Watching Jacob ink, it's so satisfying to see an inking process this smooth. It's like ASMR, but for eyes. And the crazy part is, even as Jacob's art improves and changes over time, somehow his line art always does that. It doesn't matter if it's sharp, round, thick, thin. Even watching him put shapes down when he does the lineless drawing somehow achieves this smooth, satisfying effect. And I think it has a lot to do with confidence. The confidence in the strokes and the sheer mastery over understanding shapes is what I think makes Jacob ink so powerful. That said, this twink ain't hot to me. Maybe if I saw him topping Ganondorf. But, you know, until then, we'll never know. Last, but certainly never least, is Julia! Julia is our finisher in not all, but most of the episodes, for reasons. And this time she closes us up with Dark Fantasy Link. First of all, this is the moment we are introduced to this. And you know what? I'm happy for her. Individual artistic processes are so fascinating to me, and this is so far from how I could ever work that it makes it just an absolute blast to watch. Julia drops a lot of valuable info here about why she works this way, and overall gives like a lot of valuable commentary about color and our perception of color when we create a piece, which I would totally suggest listening to. Links to all the episodes I review here are, of course, in the description below. I always wanted to say that. What I find especially fascinating here, though, is how Julia puts down the lines, because look at this. She goes from this very rough sketch of just like form to very precise fine line work, and it's still fucking rad. I couldn't do this simply on the basis of me constantly needing to reward myself with appreciating my own progress on the piece to even want to finish it. I'm the type that is motivated by positives, okay? If I see the piece coming together nicely, hell yeah, I'll finish it. If I saw this on my screen, I would go play Mahjong Soul instead. But then, it happens. Blue. She turns it blue. But then it happens, and oh boy, I'm closing that Mahjong Soul window immediately. This looks so good, and again, I can't imagine putting down all the armor lines without like a more precise undersketch. Julia is just insane at creating form and texture and mood and atmosphere and pretty much everything, really. And she absolutely smashed it. Is what I would have said if she drew Ganondorf in Tiny Pink Bikini. Now, it's time. I've made my decision. The winner of the very first episode is Nathan! I think Nathan not only nailed the assignment of putting Link into a different world, but really pushed it with choosing like the specific art style and also like going somewhere unexpected with this twink. That's 1 point for Nathan! Whee! The gang didn't know it yet, but this episode would beacon the start of something new and big and really cool.
Julia, is this Blender? Yeah.
It's Newsday, once again, baby, or what Jacob calls it here, Reduce Day, which unfortunately does not mean they are drawing Ryu from Street Fighter in Tiny Pink Bikini. What they do draw is Game of Thrones characters in different styles this time, which again I think shows how Nathan kinda set the precedent with his Clone Wars Link, which further proves my point of him winning the episode, haha. Okay, it's Nathan time, and just a disclaimer here, They just keep stepping it up. They just keep stepping it up. Nathan won the last episode, but he did step it up this time. And this is something we will see again and again. And it does make my job that I gave myself of deciding who shall win each episode incredibly hard. This time Nathan chooses to draw the Night King in the DBZ villain style, which, first of all, fire idea, or rather, ice cold idea. He gives our king the Beerus bod. I never watched DBZ, but I've seen Beerus, alright? I've seen that bod. The exaggerated pauldrons and their iconic shape take me straight to DBZ, and yeah, he nailed it. There's nothing else to talk about here, really, right? Oh, yeah, he drew a dragon, which is not an uncommon for our boy Nathan, to be fair, but it is for sure a flex. Nathan might be my mortal enemy, honestly, because I can draw animals, dinosaurs, reptilians of any kind. Maybe because I don't want to and never tried, but no matter how many times I see Nathan whip out pretty much any animalistic creature, it never stops to impress me. He truly is the Dinosaur King. We see the return of this coloring technique and some additional tips and tricks to color, so go check that out because look at the final product. The colors are so clean, it looks sick, it looks really, 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 really good. She's really good. I will say that twice in a row now Nathan appeals to my tastes with the sharp neon blue light source, and honestly that kind of feels like cheating, so I'm deducting points for that. An attempt to bribe the emperor shall never go unpunished. Jacob is drawing, you guessed it, a beautiful boy, and this time it's not a twink. Now, I can get behind Jon Snow being a hot boy, okay? And I do mean Kit Harington, who is like 38 now. I do not mean Jon Snow from the books, who is 14. We get this hunk of a man in the style of Scott Pilgrim comics, and Jacob had fun with this one, you can tell. The composition to me right off the bat gives me like a card design for like a card game, which I hope everyone understood from the intro is my weakness. I just love a pretty 6.35 to 8.8 centimeter cardboard with pretty pictures on it.
In my world, everyone's a pony, and they all eat rainbows and
Brother, this guy!
And this gives me very much that. Like, I want to throw my wallet on the screen watching this, and I don't even know if this card is meta viable. We cannot, however, forget about the Jacob ink. Chunkier this time to match the style, and it still hits that corner of my brain. The monkey is clapping, okay? The monkey is going crazy. One little cool technique thing I want to point out here is how Jacob added the snow into the piece. These little particle finishing effects go such a long way and oftentimes like really tie everything together. And here he does it very simply yet very effectively. Couple of lines, play with the opacity a little bit, and boom! No need to overthink it. Sometimes all your piece needs is blurry white dots. We also get lettering for this piece, which even enforces the card vibe for me. Jacob goes more the comic book cover vibe, but in my mind it's Jon Snow that costs 3 mana and colors the edition. And yeah, Jacob slayed this. I want to print this. I want to play the game, please. I want to play Jon Snow for 3 mana and color the edition so bad, dude. Julia dares to suggest earlier in this episode that she might be the weak link this time. But we what? Never trust the Eldritch Gods. Right. She went for another beautiful boy, Jaime Lannister, in the style of Yoji Shikawa of the Metal Gear series, which I'm not personally familiar with at all, but once Julia mentioned portraits, I was in. If Nathan is the Dinosaur King, then Julia is the beautiful graphic portrait queen, okay? We get a more detailed underdrawing from Julia with this neon green, which she explains works for her because it makes her less precious with the drawing, as this is, just a sketch. Love the big exaggerated color, by the way. I think that's such a cool decision making to, make the color like bigger and like, fill out more of the space. And I absolutely love watching Julia put down these face shapes because this is really one of Julia's fortes. Then we get into inking. Grinder is apparently the name of the brush she uses here for anyone interested. I think you can download it on your phone as well, I heard, which is really cool. And yeah, Jamie turned out absolutely beautiful. I love the final decision of just white background with the strained graphic line, makes it very striking. I don't know much about Metal Gear, but there's war, right? Right? Like, if this was a Join the Army poster, then I don't know. I might. I'm not saying I would, but I might. The time has come. I've made my decision. The one sitting on the Iron Throne is the young wolf, the wolf of the north, the king of the north, the king in the north, which could actually mean two things. But Jacob is winning this episode. This is absolutely one of those where anyone could have easily taken it, honestly. But the car dimension got me, and it's a really fun piece. He also nailed his chosen art style, and his speed draw showcased some really good how to finish up your piece advice. 1 point to Jacob. I would just like to point out that this episode ends with, sorry, because we'll never do Sonic. Yeah. In episode 3, we have Jacob, Goku, and Bulma drawing Goku in different styles. So first up is Goku drawing Kid Goku in Don Blue style. Don Bluth. And this gives birth to an iconic Drawfee moment, for me at least, which is Julia's hate for Thumbelina. I think this is the first time we hear Julia mention it. Don't quote me on that, okay? She talks about it surprisingly a lot. I've never seen Thumbelina, but you know what? I hate her too. Back to Goku though, who really flexes his versatility muscle here, and I think nails the energy of the art style of the Don Bluth movies right away. With the design, the face, the line art, I think where this one gets hard is the kind of post-production stage, the grain and the kind of color inconsistency of those 90s animations. And I feel like nowadays Nathan would smash that. But this was the dark era of Photoshop only on the channel, so you know, I wouldn't want to play with texture and filters in Photoshop either, so keep your peace, king. I respect it. Jacob does Goku in the style of Avatar, the last airbender. Also going for the younger version of Goku, more of a teenager, I guess, but for a Goku episode, my Hanko meter is dangerously low right now, I will say. Love the shapes Jacob goes for here in the design, but I will say today's Jacob would absolutely complement it with a pose. Like I said before, Jacob is incredible with shapes, and more dynamic posts would of course be able to showcase the amazing shape language that Jacob always delivers more effectively. I also have to say I hate the fart cloud. I can't unsee a green cloud as anything else, which by the way is also Jacob's fault. He used to draw farts all the time. Tommy boy, more like upset Tommy boy, the way the boy be farting. And finally, fresh from the capsule, it's Bulma. At the start, she asks, "Are you ready to pivot?" And I excitedly cry out, "Yes, please, give me a hunk. One hunk, please." And Bulma replies, "Bet." Long story short, Julia draws Vegeta and wins the Goku episode. The style is that of Piotr Jablonski. It's lineless, shapy, sharp. I love the composition. It conveys like pure power, the shock of the earth shattering. Julia mentions MTG art, and I can absolutely see this as a version of Damnation or Wrath of God in a DBZ Secret Lair collab. It's just fucking cool. Point goes absolutely to Julia! Next episode.
Get ready for the next battle. Section 8. New challenger.
Possesses power. I will hold it in.
Drawfee.
Your fate is already decided.
I'll kill you.
You might be thinking right now, Emperor, I thought this was a fair contest. It's episode 4. Wouldn't Karina have a major disadvantage joining this late? You might be even outraged, citizen. But you are probably not, because you fucking know Karina. She's here! Yippee! The theme is My Hero Academia characters in different styles, and the gang did not let Nathan into the room for it. Probably because he would have drawn Deku. So we are starting off with... who chose Todoroki in the Pokemon style, and oh my god, this one turned out so well! I love this one. Now, you might be wondering, Emperor, but he drew a twink, and that's a valid criticism, dear citizen, if it wasn't for him. That's right. Jacob gives Todoroki 2 signature mons to represent his 2 sides and his parents and stuff, which I thought was such a good choice. And since nobody drew the Fire Daddy himself, I was very happy to see at least his stunt double represented. Jacob nails the style. I assume he might have referenced Paul for this one from Diamond and Pearl, because it does give me a rival who's gonna beat me episode 1, beat me again on episode 6 and 28, but at the final league, I finally come on the top with the Pokemon the rival has abandoned prior just to lose a random guy with a Darkrai kind of vibe, you know? Jacob Inc. is also very much present here, and honestly, he would have had it in the bag if it wasn't for one fateful day when he agreed to hire... Yay! I'm so happy she's here, finally. Listen, I've been watching Drawfee since 2016, way before Karina joined the gang, back when Caldwell was a regular. Shout out to the king, by the way, I hope he's doing great. And watching the transition, I guess the growing relationship of Karina with the show and the rest of the crew in real time, it was just, I don't know, not to be like super social, but I remember it being quite heartwarming. It was the time when I was finding my own space and people and discovering where I belong, and seeing such a cool change and inclusion in my favorite YouTube show was huge for me. Phil and Dan? Pff, this was my Phil and Dan. Dream face reveal? Pff, this was my dream face reveal. Bye sister? Well, this was my welcome sister. Anyway, here we go. The first Karina speed draw is a banger. Bakugo in the style of Spider-Verse. One of Karina's many strengths are the poses, bro. Poses! Imagine owning a posing book. Imagine using a posing book. Imagine borrowing a posing book and never opening it once. I mean, that would be me, to be fair. I can imagine that quite easily. Seeing Karina drawing process freed my ass, by the way, because this is exactly how I colored and still color my pieces. The way she puts down the flats and then goes area by area and manually cleans it up, that's so me, queen. So inefficient, but somehow very important to my work, you know? My favorite part though is this post-production, figuring out what's gonna work to really bring this into the Spider-Verse. So many cool choices made. Karina woke up and chose to draw violence, and I'm so here for it. I remember watching this episode when it came out and screenshotting the final piece because I was inspired. Did I ever look at that screenshot ever again? I don't know. Did Jacob ever reference one of Karina's art books? Hard to say, but it's the intent, the thought that really matters. Am I right? Similarly to Karina, Julia woke up that day and chose suffering. She went for the art style of Ayami Kojima of Castlevania. So bold, go off queen, I could never. We get this beautiful sketch right away, even though the colors never cease to amaze me. Emphasis on seizure. Julia shows off her digital painting ability on this piece, and to me that's so impressive. Like, I'm not afraid of layers. Layers are afraid of me. So I can't imagine putting all of this on one layer and add and paint over and blend. I'll stick to my faithful layer 83, thank you so much. But the piece turns out super cool. Vampire Aizawa is an absolute smash, and I'll say it rounds up another episode where anyone could really take it. However, this is not All-Star Season 4, and we will have a definitive winner, which is Karina!
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Karina, to the incredible speeddraw debut, and if you are keeping scores, this means that literally everybody has a point now. But Emperor, you said you wanted a cutthroat competition. Surely you can't end it with a tie. Yeah! Nathan's still alive! Kill him! Not to fret, my dear citizens, because I do have exactly enough editing energy for one more battle. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is the very first YouTube thingy I ever did, so I hope it was watchable. Thank you to Drawfee for existing and just being the best. And I hope this was a fun little homage to some of their, at this point, older videos. I would love to continue this as a series, so if you would like that, I would really appreciate your like and a follow. And I better get a comment from you, citizen, telling me how wrong I am with the judging and the points. And I would actually love to hear how everyone would vote. Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye.